Hey everyone, Adam with Moxie Mentoring. So this is going to actually be our first live office hours session. I want to give just a few minutes to see if we can get some folks logged on. I know a lot of you are probably going to watch this, the recorded version. Probably would be guilty of doing the same thing myself. But just a couple of things I want to kind of talk about before we dive into our actual first office hours. I want to thank everyone for the feedback that we've received. We've just gotten a lot of great feedback from recruiters. It seems like this is something that everyone's kind of been waiting for, just kind of this platform where it's just dedicated solely to, travel healthcare recruiters, because it's kind of a beast of a position and there's a lot that goes into it. So to have a platform that's fully dedicated seems like something that was important, is important, and we're excited to bring that to you all. And the questions that we've received, which we'll kind of dive into here shortly, have been interesting. They've been fun. Some are definitely better than others, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Want to be up front, not feeling 100%, still kind of battling through kind of a cold. We're coming live from Bennington, Nebraska, land of the frozen tundra where everyone's sick right now. So cough and sore throat and all that good stuff. So anyways, I say that because I may cough, and I apologize. I've been dipping cough drops for the last 20 minutes, hoping to avoid that, but no guarantees. So as you can see, I'm here by myself today. My partner, Sherry, is actually traveling to Nashville. She's traveling to Nashville for a women's conference. She's traveling with actually a couple people that you guys might know. So Lenora from Coastal Healthcare Resources, awesome lady, doing some awesome things out there in South Carolina with Coastal, and Case Lane, which I'm sure you guys have all heard of. Highway hypodermics, sure that probably rings a bell. So those ladies are going to have a great time, I'm sure, at the conference down there. I think she may have done that intentionally, actually. So this is our first office hours, and she's actually out of town. You kind of see what's going on there. So not a big deal, though. I'm excited to be here, excited to kind of dive into some of these questions. Keep the questions coming. I want to say that before we kind of get rolling. Keep them coming, because it's really you guys are creating the content, and this is all for you. So keep them coming. I mentioned that some of the questions were better than others, so let's just kind of dive in here. Are you and Sherry in a relationship? That's funny. So yes, we are. Yes, we are not only business partners, but we are actually engaged to be married. So yes, the answer is yes. Question 2. Who would you say that is the better recruiter, you or Sherry? I am not going to sleep on the couch, but I would have to say Sherry. Definitely Sherry. No, we were both successful recruiters. And I think it took both of us working together, without a doubt, to create this training program and this business. And so it's always fun to have that competition. And maybe we'll let you guys decide, I guess, those that have gone through training and worked with us in the past. But all in fun. I think if you ask any recruiter, I think they probably honestly would say that they're the best recruiter they know. It's just kind of one of those things. I think that's part of being good at recruiting, is that having that confidence, and not just confidence, but having, I should say, not just confidence in your skills, but having confidence that you're continuously learning and constantly kind of trying to hone your craft. And so I think that's where the confidence comes from. So why are there so many staffing agencies in Omaha? Oh man, that's a really good question. It's definitely not because of the Huskers, not because of the College World Series, not because of the weather. We talked a little bit about that already. So I would say, my opinion of that is that, there's a large company in Omaha, and I think a lot of the companies that are here presently probably kind of fractured off of that larger company. And I think you see that in different parts of the country, different hubs, so to speak. So that would be my opinion. I think there's some other, financial reasons why businesses do remain here in Omaha. One of the things too that I want to point out is that the talent pool is great here in Omaha because of the fact that there, is quite a few companies, or there are quite a few companies. So compared to other markets. And I've heard a lot of owners, across the country say just that. So definitely great question. Thanks for asking that one. And then the big question, I think we can dive right into this one. And I think this is a good question. I think this is something that's definitely relevant. Hi, Misty. Michelle and Monique. All right. So the question is, Facebook seems so negative these days. Travelers bash agencies and recruiters all day, every day. Should recruiters use Facebook or social media to source candidates? I mean, that is a great question, kind of spot on. I think, unfortunately, there's been a lot of negativity across social media, not just in travel nursing, but just in general. We see a lot of bullying out there. And it's unfortunate. I mean, there really are, there's a lot of value to these sites, to these groups. There's a lot of good information that can be, transmitted. And unfortunately, there is a lot of negativity. But some things that I want to point out, there are signs of change. There are some groups out there now that are more positive in nature, and the goal is positive in nature. And I think that that's a great sign. I think that, when I started recruiting, everything was negative, even then. And, Delphi forums, I'm going to date myself, but, there was constantly, there's this bashing of agencies and recruiters. And I see that a lot on Facebook and some of these groups and some of these pages. And I think, one piece of advice I would offer recruiters is if you know that a site is just, the content's just negative, and every time a recruiter posts, they're getting bashed, just don't participate. Don't engage on those sites. Don't, share and post positions on those sites. I mean, if truly you don't want to provide value to that particular page, if you know that it's, not really aligning with your values, your vision, and it seems like probably not a good place for recruiters or for agencies to be, then don't be there. Find the groups and the pages where there is a more positive vibe and where the information sharing is more productive. And so that would be my advice on that. And then the other thing that I want to say is that you got to remain disciplined. It's tough to do. I mean, when you're, on those sites and you see a lot of the negativity and the bashing, and, one of the things that I dislike the most is when you see the comment, run, a nurse or a traveler will post something, about a pay package, and then someone will comment, run. And it's like, take a step back. And as a recruiter, somebody that worked with a lot of different hospitals and understand the contracts and all the information that goes into each one of these assignments, I understand that, not everything is that simple. It's, there's a lot of different factors that go into building pay packages. And so when I see that type of, interaction, it's really discouraging. We'd rather see things where, somebody's having that transparent conversation where they're sharing information and building an understanding in the community. And I think, those sites are on the rise. There are some people that are out there that are doing some good things. So, which is great to see. Again, just be selective about the pages that and the groups that you belong to. There is value. You've just got to remain disciplined. Try to avoid conflict, and then know what your social media policy is too at your agency. Before you start, creating your own Facebook page or your own unique Facebook profile. Really understand what your social media policy is to make sure that you're playing by the rules of your agency. Another piece that's really important is how you use social media. How are you using these pages? When you're interacting in these groups, what are you doing? Are you creating or providing any value? And that's something that we talk a lot about in our training, not just for how you use social media, but how are you leaving voice messages? It really, honestly, it's a part of every piece or phase of the process when it comes to recruitment. And it's so important when we look at social media. So how are you using social media? Are you just going out and posting pictures of like the sunset in Idaho, nowhere, Idaho, or the city skyline in Seattle, and then posting jobs? If you're posting jobs left and right and that's all you're doing, honestly, I think you're wasting your time. I think there's so much more value to be gained from using these Facebook groups and these pages. And it comes down to creating, something that is valuable to the target demographic, travelers. What's valuable to a traveler? Well, information's one thing. If you've, got information about licensing processes or practices, procedures, if you've got some new piece of information that could be valuable to travelers, share that information and do it in a way that, where you're not asking for anything in return. You're just genuinely providing information to that traveler community. They're going to respect that. You're going to appreciate that, and you're going to attract people rather than have to chase people. And that's what social media and these platforms can do for you. The other thing is, maybe you don't have any interesting information. Maybe, that's not your angle. Maybe you provide some entertainment value. I've seen some great videos that have been created by recruiters these days, and they're sharing them on these social media platforms, and they're really building a following because they're entertaining. They're fun to watch. Excuse me. I mentioned early on I'm fighting a cold, and I apologize. So really figure out, how are you using these sites? What are you doing? Are you creating value? Are you attracting the right types of candidates? And really that's the key to using social media, using Facebook. And honestly, at the end of the day, if you feel like, there's just too much negativity and it's not working for me, then try LinkedIn. I personally have seen recruiters work using that platform only exclusively, find great success. So maybe Facebook isn't your thing, but maybe you find success on LinkedIn. So I would encourage you to look at that as an option as well. And then the final piece to all of this, I think, is, you can be plugged in and not be engaged as well. So if you're, on these pages or parts of these groups, use it to gather information, to understand what are these travelers hearing, how are they interacting, how do they talk about different topics like missed shifts, deductions, or different language that's in contracts, and use it as a way to gather information so that you can be a better source of information for your travelers or for your prospects or candidates. And that can be extremely useful for you as well. So I hope this information was useful for you. Really, that is kind of the end all be all for this first session. I apologize for my voice. I apologize that Sherry's not here for this first one, but hope that you got some value out of that. Again, going back, the big question was, should recruiters use Facebook? There's a lot of negativity. I say absolutely yes, and you can watch the rest of the video if you weren't part of it to kind of see why. Hope you all having a great time. Happy hunting, and keep the questions coming in. We'll be back next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Until then, thanks.